All right, so I just recorded part 1 of this Frozen series. Frozen in, I don't know what I'm going to call it, but whatever I call it, it's going to be about this crappy weather. Man, let me drink some water. I should have been drinking water, and I haven't been, so... So if you didn't catch the first video, there's no power. Snow never sticks. Anytime we get snow here, it melts before it hits the ground. Almost every year that it's ever done it, the few times that it has, it'll just be little flurries and not a big deal. By the way, in the description there is sort of a disclaimer. I'm not a doctor, I'm not a psychologist, I'm not a medical practitioner of any kind. I'm just somebody that's sharing my story, trying to create conversation, hopefully trying to connect with some people in genuine and authentic ways. I'm thirsty. And it's cold because it's been sitting in the car. It's been in the garage and it said 25 when I got in here, 25 degrees, which is cold. So yeah, I was just talking about judgment and discernment, and how sometimes it's hard for me to tell. Like, I feel like the trauma is excuse me. The trauma is what makes things feel like judgment, and then there's times where I'm like, is it a trauma judgment, or is it like an empathic, intuitive, like, reception of information, you know? And I kind of feel like, I guess this is really the point of the matter of the topic that I wanted to talk about before I went off on some crazy, like, 20-minute tangent, was sorry, my brain is just like, I'm starting to get kind of cold again. So I had the car running in the last one, but my car was like, hey, you've been in here for like 30 minutes. The car's going to shut off automatically because you're just sitting here not doing anything. You're not driving. Yeah, that's where we're at. We're in the car because there's no power and it's cold inside. Like, freezing cold inside. We have a generator, but we don't know if we're part of a power outage or if we're part of a rolling blackout. Which, again, like, when we've had cold weather, we've had, like, our roads freeze and trees freeze when we get, like, an actual hard freeze, which doesn't happen all that often. There's probably only been, like, 3 or 4 in my entire life where there's been, like, a hard freeze that's, like, dangerous for the roads and stuff. Maybe a few more than that, but still. And this is like legit, like, snow sticking to the ground. The road is white right now in front of me. When I opened the garage, there was like this much snow. I'm like, what is this? What? I feel like Jack for the night before Christmas. What's this? What's this white stuff? But anyway, so yeah, I think what I've learned about judgment versus discernment personally, and I still sometimes feel like I get mixed up on them. Like, I feel sometimes like I make wrong choices when I'm trying to distinguish, like, what's what and, like, what feels like, I don't know, because, like, I get feelings about stuff, you know, and I'm like, oh, well, I feel odd about this, so what does that mean? Like, I just got this odd feeling, so what does that mean? You know, like, I've always just been able to pick up on stuff. And part of me always just thought that was just a mechanism from growing up in trauma where you try to predict your abusers and try to pacify people. Because the less angry they are, the less likely something bad's going to happen, you know? Like, it still gets to me to this day. Like, I will always encourage people to start healing from whatever they've gone through, where people didn't acknowledge what they were experiencing, or, you know, especially like when it comes to things like I've been through, it's not easy to verbalize how you feel about someone basically completely violating you and treating you like you're nothing. You know, those are big feelings for little people. So they just live with them. On top of everything else, they just live with them, right? So, you know, when you grow up feeling like you're just a disappointment and a burden, you know, you tend to feel like you're being judged for everything, I suppose. I don't, it's something I still haven't really resolved within myself. I'm just going to be completely honest. It's just, I think these are things that people either have already talked about and I haven't been in on the loop somehow, or, well, I know how, but, or, you know, I forgot where I was going with that. So either I haven't been in the loop on it, or there are conversations that need to be had. And so, yeah, I feel like, you know, those are the moments where I am having like the feeling of judgment versus the feeling of, okay, I'm honestly picking up on something here. I'm picking up on a feeling, or I'm picking up on somebody else's feelings, or and I know it sounds crazy. Like I think part of my hesitancy is because expressing things that I've always been able to sort of experience are going to sound fucking crazy to people. You know what I mean? And I know there's a reason why people don't talk about these things, but I also feel like every generation that's coming in, there's more and more sensitive people like me, if not maybe more sensitive. Excuse me. Oh, my throat's getting dry. So, I don't know. I just kind of feel like, I wish that there would have been somebody around to talk about these things when I was trying to heal my shit, you know? So I'm just trying to put it out there. I'm just trying to share my story. And I hope that, you know, just having some other experience, like, don't measure yourself by anybody, but to look at experiences and say, here's a pattern, here's a marker, here's an indicator. I think that goes a long way. So, you know, I feel like even in those moments where I feel judged, like, I'll give an example if I can. I'll try to give a vague example. I don't want to, I just don't know how much of my life I want to share on YouTube immediately. Like, there's a lot of fucking haters on YouTube. And I mean, I ain't scared to cut a bitch verbally, but I'm not that person anymore either. I'm not the bully that I used to be. So, you know, I have to learn how to, like, I had to learn how to not let shit get to me. And not because I wasn't worthy, but because I was worthy. I don't know if that makes sense. Like, you know, we take the things that people say personally, and they don't even know us. You know, and even like me, like, when I feel like I'm picking up on things, like, sometimes I'll sense things about people, like, oh, I feel like this person's probably someone who does this, and someone who, you know, is like a type A personality. And there's a lot of people that can pick up on people and their personalities, and you know, but I'm also kind of a person where I can look at something that's happened and be like, I think this is how this went down, and then still be right. Like, you know what I mean? Like, there's a lot of intuition that goes on that I don't even control. It's like I just get information. Like, I don't know how else to explain it. And so that's why sometimes I really struggle with, like, wait, am I really being judged, or is this like a trauma thing, or is this, you know? And sometimes that's part of the, like I was saying, that's part of the empath part, is being able to tell, like, how people are viewing you. Like, sometimes we can tell how we're being viewed. You know, I think everyone can get a sense of how they're being viewed, and here's proof of that. Think about, like, first dates, think about blind dates, think about job interviews, you know what I mean? Think about, like, every new year of school, you know, and you're like, with the new, like, all those things where you're very receptive to how are you being viewed, how are you being, and so I think when you grow up in trauma, that's amplified, and I think if you end up being an empath, it's amplified even further, you know what I mean? And I don't think any of this stuff is coincidental. I used to be really, really angry about my trauma, but You know, I've been healing from it, and I've been understanding like where in some places I can lean on it because I've healed it. You know what I mean? There are places where I can lean on my trauma that I've healed and use that for balance and use that for experience and use that to push me forward without it pulling me back. You know, and so that's a lot of where you have to use discernment too. Like, is this actually helping me or is it harming me? You know, and sometimes we can't be honest with ourselves. Like, I think people getting caught up about people being liars and stuff, I have a whole opinion about it, but I have a whole opinion, a whole ass opinion about it. I think people are people, and people are going to tell lies, even the best of us. There is no person alive that can say that they have never lied, and if they are saying that they've never lied, they are officially lying, and you cannot convince me otherwise. So I'm just saying. People lie for various reasons, and you know, like if somebody, like if a kid lies to you and you're like, why did you do that? And they're like, well, because I was ashamed and I felt guilty and I thought you might think this of me. That just ties right back into all that judgment. So why aren't we treating people differently? Why aren't we treating ourselves differently? You know. Sorry, we're on a ramble today, y'all. I have nothing better to do, literally nothing better to do except lay in my bed with a weighted blanket and another blanket and still be freezing. I'm not quite as cold as I was in the house as I am. Like, I'm starting to feel the cold because I feel my body starting to kind of tremble. But still, it's warmer in here still from the heat when the heat was running than it is in my house. I'm pretty sure we do not have power still. And I don't know when we're going to have power. We have a generator, but I want to save it for this evening, because if the power doesn't come on by this evening and it's dark and it's cold like this, we're going to need some heat. We're going to need some heat to sleep, hopefully. So I don't know, this weather is crazy, y'all. The world is crazy. That's what I'm saying. Everything's already crazy. Oh, man. And that just drives it home, like people that feel the way that I've felt, that I've been healing from, that I've been trying to overcome, and sometimes there's some things that I really don't like about myself, but I'm like, yeah, but in a way that kind of helps you, so let's just kind of leave that alone and accept that you kind of do that, and it's kind of annoying, but it's not all of who you are. Like, that one thing that's kind of annoying about you is not all of who you are, you know? And I think a lot of judgment really does come down to like how we view ourselves, for sure, and how much we like ourselves, you know. I remember even in my biggest bully days, when I would always be like verbally attacking people. Oh, y'all, I don't even like myself back then. Like, I don't even like myself back then. If I could just like distance myself from that person that I used to be, I would. But like, it's important to the story that I'm honest about the fact that I was that person that thought they were a good person and never thought that they hurt anybody, and that everything that I did was because I cared. You know what I mean? And then as different people started coming to me telling me they felt the same way about me, but they didn't know each other, I'm like, okay, I'm getting the same message from like unrelated sources. I need to look at this a little more closely, a little more honestly, you know? And sometimes it's hard to be honest with ourselves, because the honest part is we're all kind of garbage. That's the honest truth. We're all kind of garbage. And we're all trying to limp along, pretending like we all got our shit together. No, we're all kind of garbage. Okay? That doesn't mean that you're not awesome. It doesn't mean that you're not shiny and spectacular. But we're all kind of garbage. Like, it just is what it is. And I guess you could take that as a judgment, but really I feel like it's just a truth. Like, being human, you're going to be awesome, and you're going to be not awesome, and you're going to be everything in between. And hopefully beyond that, if you can understand that you're a limitless creator being. So I don't really feel like I've covered this properly, or in the way that I would have originally liked to have done. But I mean, I'm watching like snow being blown, like rain that's been resting. Like, it's not even actively really snowing, but then like the wind will blow and blow all the loose powder shit. This is weird. This is weird for me. I don't know. I just feel like in a world that's so full of all this fake shit and fucking influencers, like people just got to start showing up and being who they are. And that's all I'm trying to do here. And I hope that it's helpful. I think discernment is really just being honest with yourself. And, you know, judgment is just kind of how you're receiving the world. And sometimes I'm wrong. Like sometimes as much as I pick up on things, sometimes I'm wrong, you know? And there's no way that you can be right. I don't give a fuck what kind of abilities you have. Like, it is rare that someone is right on the money all the time. Like, there's always going to be some variant. There's always going to be some about what they're picking up. But I tend to get correct a lot. A lot enough that I try to trust my intuition more than I doubt it. And that only makes it stronger. So, I mean, like, you know, and I know I said I was going to give it sorry, I'm having a hard time now. I'm judging myself. I'm actively judging myself. I'm feeling like you didn't really cover that. You didn't really, and maybe it's not a judgment. Maybe it's a critique, but it feels like judgment, you know? And I know I grew up feeling very judged. Like, I felt like nothing I did was ever good enough. I felt like, you know, I'm one of those people too that I have sort of like performance anxiety. So like when I'm being watched while I'm doing something, or if I'm, you know, near someone and I feel like they're judging me, like I'll start having like really bad performance and I'll look like an absolute idiot. But it's not about being an idiot, it's about letting things get to me. And a lot of it I know is just working with it and looking at myself honestly and working on who am I really. Because up until the past few years, I don't think that I ever really understood that I had the full right or space to just truly show up authentically and live as I felt I should live. So it's taken me quite a few decades to remove myself from the lingering effects of my upbringing, that has made this an issue for me to begin with. And like I said, maybe it has nothing to do with trauma. Maybe there's going to be people in the comments that are going to be like, you know, my best friend grew up perfect and like, you know, they had a perfect life, which that's the thing. Like a lot of people, that's the thing about trauma too, y'all. Like if you don't know, okay, people can look like they have the perfect life, but that just means there's probably more there that they're trying to cover up. The more perfect someone tries to appear, the more they're trying to hide. Usually. The more perfect they try to appear, the more they're trying to hide their imperfections. And I think that's another reason why I'm like, I'm just going to show, but I'm not going to edit. I don't give a fuck. Like, I don't give a fuck. Like, if I had to worry about every little imperfection, I would never show up. You know, and for a while, I was like, I can't do it yet because I'm not good. I'm not ready. I'm not this. I'm not that. I'm not. And those were old recordings that were creating judgments, you know, and creating these stories that were not true, but they were becoming true because they were the stories that I was telling myself. They were the stories that I was rationalizing in my mind based off of all my previous experiences of you can't, you don't, you're never gonna, you know, you're not gonna have anything, you're not gonna be anybody, or you know what I mean? Like basically annihilating my existence as a human being, you know? So it is hard to come back from that. It's not impossible, but it is hard to come back from feeling, you know, so pummeled and spread out and lost by those who are supposed to care about you and society. That's what I'm saying. Like, this society is a sick society. And anybody who can't see that, or I don't know, man. Like, I'm not trying to tell people what to think. That's never going to be my place, because I know we can't all think the same thing. Because what the world is now is what happens when everybody tries to think the same thing. When we all try to fit into the same fucking box. We were not made to be that way, you know? So I just don't get how people don't get it. And I understand, like, I mean, there was a time where I was kind of, I guess, under the spell a little bit myself, where I was wrapped up in the fucking, you know, bullshit of wanting to feel like I belonged. But, you know, my whole life I've kind of been a loner, and it's actually pretty well suited me. I have a few good connections with people, and, you know, I think that's all you really need. You just need a couple of quality connections, and then everybody else can just kind of be, you know, an acquaintance that you enjoy, you know, their interactions or whatever, you know. Again, I grew up pretty isolated, so don't take me as the expert on relationship or connection advice, because I'm just trying to figure it out myself. So, but these are things that get in the way, like the judging and the, am I being judgmental, or am I picking up on something? You know what I mean? Like, is this a trauma response that I'm just creating something that's not there, or am I actually picking up on something? And I think, like I said, I still struggle with that myself sometimes, but I don't know. I just want to make sure that I'm covering it to some degree. I'm at least bringing it to awareness, and to some awareness. And I don't know, like, I wish I had the answers, you know what I mean? But even if I find the answers for myself, they're probably not going to be the answers for you. But hopefully, if we all start sharing our stories, and we all start being honest about what we're really going through, what we're really struggling with, like, yeah, that can be a weakness. It can be. But a lot of it is how you choose to respond to every situation. And so sometimes, like, you can get pulled into that sort of negative energy of, like, judgment, or assuming that someone's being judgment, and maybe they really are being judgmental. You know what I mean? Like, like I said, I've had jobs. I was going to give an example that I never gave. This is sort of that example in a roundabout way. I've had jobs where I've had people kind of like bickering behind me or near me about something that they seem to think is my responsibility, or something is kind of how it comes across to me, like with the way that they're being. But I also have to keep in mind that learning that I was not quite the kind, considerate person that I always thought I was before I started healing, I have to keep that in mind too. Like, maybe they just don't realize how they're coming across. And I don't ever want to, like, be an asshole to somebody who just doesn't realize how they're coming across. And sometimes trying to correct people is not the way to go about doing it either, even if you think you're right, even if you think you've done the work and all that stuff. That's just my personal belief, because you don't know what their journey is. You know what I mean? And so it's tough, y'all. It's tough. It is tough to try to walk this walk and, like, trust where you feel called to go, and to, like, really check in with yourself. It's difficult. But it's not impossible. And, I've been working on it for about 4 or 5 years myself. And there are people who have sort of had an awakening, I guess, more recently than me, that seem to be way more tapped into some of the sort of abilities that you may find yourself having. I think the world is changing, and I think it's changing in a way that none of us see coming. But we'll be shocked, but we won't be surprised. Like, I kind of have that feeling. Like, I feel like all the shit that we've been told isn't real is real, and I feel like everything that we've been told is real is a lie, and I have my own reasons for feeling that way. And healing has made me have these feelings and thoughts. I mean, like, yeah, I've always kind of felt a little bit nonconformist, and I struggled with, like, going to church and going to school and feeling like it was always BS. I did have those issues, but it wasn't until healing where I started really understanding. Like, I've gotten into law, I've gotten into esoteric, I've gotten into metaphysical, I've gotten into, law. I don't know if I already said that. And some of these things requires you to get into things you never thought you'd get into. Like the Bible, and, like, understanding things and looking at them in a different way, and understanding that the whole world is a stage and it's all a game. And you're just a pawn, and as long as you stay the victim, you're just the pawn. So how do I stop being the victim? Well, I take control of my own life. I take back my control. I take back my power. And you have to do that through judging, discerning, and feeling judged. And these are just part of the things. And I don't know if I'm gonna do another one behind this one, because I feel like I'm all over the place. I feel like I need to rewatch the 2 that I've done. Since I'm not editing, I'm sorry, I am not editing. But yeah, these are just some things that are kind of coming to me while I'm sitting here and I have nothing else better to do. And, I don't know. We'll see if there's another one after this. So, be kind to one another, be kind to yourself. Do your best to do self-care. You know, I know people are probably feeling beat over the head with that message, but that's the message. The message is self-care. And I'm not trying to say it like I'm the poster child for it, because I can admit I am definitely behind on my hydration. I am, you know, but I'm taking care of other things too. Like there are other areas that I'm really strong in. I just have to be able to I have to find my own way to be strong in all the other areas that benefit me to be strong in. And that's all anybody can do, and that's all anybody should ever strive for, in my opinion. So, anyway, let me know what you guys think about my rambly ass video about discernment and stuff and judgment. Did I touch the topic at all? I can probably answer it myself when I rewatch it, and that'll determine if I post it or not, probably. But anyway, hope everybody is doing well, and just do your best to be kind to yourself first. Be kind to you first. I don't care about nobody else. Be kind to you first. You know what I mean? So let yourself sleep in a little bit. Give yourself a nap. Give yourself a break. Let yourself off the hook. You know? So many times people have said, I wish I hadn't spent so much of my children's lives or the life with somebody else focusing on these things that didn't really matter. Like if you have somebody that's tragically taken away from you, you're like, oh my God, all these things that I felt like I had to do all the time, they never really even mattered because they took away time from what was most important. So I try not to stress about shit I don't get done. I try to listen to my body and answer what it's asking for. So I just suggest that you do the same. So take care, everyone, and thanks for watching. Bye.